On this episode of ADHD20, we have a delightful chat with our friend Seth McKay, professional game master,
Seth of all trades,
and newly diagnosed with the ADHD.
Cuckoo, cuckoo!
The ADHD. We have no outline. Nice. We are really rocking and
a
rolling.
Bunch of notes.
Yes, we so asked the right person to be on our podcast. Okay.
Hi, Kay.
Hi, Maddie.
How are you?
I'm so good. We're doing so good at ADHD20 this year.
I know. It's a little bit on the slower side, but we really
side?
it is definitely a little bit on the ADHD side. It's in the title, man. It's in the freaking title of the podcast, which is a podcast where you and I find the intersection between ADHD and
TTRPGs.
That's what it is. ADHD20 is the name. Welcome, everybody. And we're psyched today. This guest was meant to be. Just meant to be.
Wow. We're getting woo-woo early.
That's
and
right.
It's not even Allison's woo-woo corner. It's Matt's woo-woo corner today.
Woo-woo corner.
Woo-woo.
Wait and see. Many people who know the other creative side of what we do, the entire Enter the Pocket Dimension stuff, which includes live streaming and actual playing and stuff, will most likely know our guest today. His name is Seth McKay. Mm-hmm. And we're really honored and excited to have you on ADHD20, Seth McKay.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
I have been very, very excited.
You have been summoned into our portal to speak with us about ADHD.
But yeah, but why? Why would Seth be here? Why would we invite Seth on this podcast to talk about ADHD? Because we do know that he is a professional game master, a game master for hire. We know that side of you, so that's a given. But Seth, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us why you're here?
It is time for us to out you. Go.
Yes. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD.
What of
And-
I don't know if we're supposed to be cheering or not. I know for some people that's not. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to cheer inside, but yeah.
I'm cheering because it got me this opportunity to hang out with you.
Oh, please. You don't need ADHD. Honey, that's a lot of money to spend. We would have hung out with you for free.
But yeah, you were recently diagnosed with ADHD.
Yes.
And yeah, tell us
in
more.
large part due to this very podcast.
Really?
Because we don't diagnose people on this podcast.
Yeah.
That is for the professionals to do.
That's true. We really
Not
don't.
us.
We really don't.
But wait. Okay, because I do. I want to hear every tiny morsel and pull at every thread of your diagnosis. And I don't want to have to cut you off. So why don't we
please
jump now into the ADHD 100 table, which you've never gotten to roll on. Do that, and then let's go for the whole story.
Good job, AK.
Whole story. I love it.
All right, you're as the guest. You do the honors.
I'm the one.
You get to roll.
All right.
Yeah.
Here they are. The D.
Oh yeah.
The D100 in total. The unit. Oh. This is wild.
Wild.
Because I did a test roll when I went and grabbed these dice.
Same thing.
Test roll.
And I
just
just
to make
rolled
sure the dice
exact
work.
same thing.
Really?
What are the chances? I don't know because I don't math.
I think. Oh, I don't know either. Actually, I was going to say 1 in 100, but no, not if you're doing it twice, right? Who knows?
Probably not.
I got a 6. I got a 6.
Not a
0, 0.
6.
6.
Okay, and this is not only one that we haven't asked on the show before.
Ooh.
It's also one that I feel like you are perfectly poised to answer as a professional GM and lover of so many games. So Seth McKay, will you please tell us what's your most memorable moment from a game?
Oh.
I feel like most memorable is a lot, so you can just share like any great memory.
Yeah, any great memory. This is really difficult for me because there are quite a few.
Well, whatever, man. It's your show. Say what you want.
All right. Thanks for coming on my podcast. It's my show.
Thank you for having us on your podcast. This is actually the episode where we pass the reins officially over to Seth.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Get to end, buddy.
Sucks for you, loser. I'm just kidding.
All right. I think the first one that popped in my head, because my first experience with D&D was a pretty big moment, but this was a little later in that same group kind of playing campaign kind of. And there was a moment where two of my party members were in a cave or in some sort of ruin. God.
There's that word. That'll do some word.
A dungeon, you might say.
A dungeon, if you will. Sure, we'll say that.
There were ghouls. Like dozens of them strolling about. And two kind of wandered into this room. And one of my players was a rogue. One was a monk. Colby was one, and my brother was the other. And they wanted to try and kill these ghouls quietly, right? And it's I don't even remember the specifics, but they both rolled nat 20s on like these like multiple checks, and so it was just a moment, one of the first moments playing where I was like, oh, this is like. I mean, telling it back is like, it's not that epic, but it was so cool in the moment, right? In the, like, they just flipped into this room darkly and discreetly and just finished them off without, it was.
The power of the dice.
So cool.
Yeah.
The dice telling the story.
Tell the story.
Yeah. That's a good one.
One of my favorites, it actually happened with Seth.
Nice.
Yeah. One of my standout memories, it was, I believe, the first ever patron one shot.
Yes.
So more than a year ago.
Oh my gosh, I have a favorite memory from this game as well.
I was a nervous wreck. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd only GM'd a couple of times. And then suddenly, like, we have people who are now like throwing us their hard-earned dollars and looking to me to give them a good time. And Seth and Colby were in that one, as well as, I believe, was it Fitz was in there? I think it was Tay in there.
Tay was in there.
It was a great group. I could not have asked for like a better, like first, like not Matt, Evan, Fitz group to GM for. And you, Seth, rolled up this just real dick of a character. I mean, he was awful. And he treated Colby like came in as his basically like his servant, like his steed. And Seth in character spent the entire session just like talking down to Colby's character and just being the worst. And then at the very end, in the big bad fight, Colby failed I think it was either a charisma or a wisdom save. Yeah. So turned against the party and began to work as my BBEG's steed instead of Seth's and killed Seth's character.
Yep.
That's the crushing blow.
Oh.
And it was one of those.
Just flipped the script altogether.
Like, yeah, it was just the most like, you know, you don't want a player to die, but if you're going to have one die, at least have it be.
It was great.
the jerk at the hands of the person that he bullied the entire session.
Yeah.
And it was another like dice tell the story, right? Like all that it took was for Colby to fail that save.
Yep.
And it
and he
literally
was a monk
changed.
and he just rolled up on there and just like fury of blows and it just like knocked me out quick.
Well, and I even gave it to, I was like, Colby, like you do with this what you want to do. I'm not going to tell you, but you now recognize, and it was specifically Seth's character because he happened to be like in closest proximity. It wasn't that he turned against the entire party. It was you turn against one person in your party.
Yeah. And he was like, this feels fitting. I mean, it was perfect. It was
so good.
I was literally thinking about this moment earlier today or yesterday. For some reason, I don't remember why, but I was just like, it was played out beautifully.
I wish I had been there.
Me too. We missed you.
Can't make them all, but I've got a couple that I'm going to go through quickly. Number one, I have to mention this one because it's still so freaky just on a human being level, not just a game level, that I don't know if I'll ever experience this again. But the first time that I played with our friend Tay, he was a professional dungeon master, and I met him for the first time. He was a friend of a friend. We were playing with that friend, our friend Corinne, and we all got together. And I was just dying. I wanted to know. I was so new to. I wanted to play with somebody that was a professional, and I was super psyched. He had this one shot to play that involved a carnival and all this stuff, and I don't even remember which character. It was
Faye. It was the original Hottie Hive.
Phalema. And so, and in my mind, I had, as a world builder, I had already created a relationship with my character Phalema and Evan's character in another campaign called Willem. Tay did not know this. He did not know. I promise. He had no idea. And Faye goes into a tent where they're reading Taroka. And it was Taroka specifically. This was not Barovia. Oh, that's weird. I just realized that too. Oh, that's so weird. Because y'all hadn't even gone to Barovia yet. You had not gone to Barovia. Willem had not gone. Oh, this is getting creepier as I'm telling it. So, but we go in and Faye sits down. And Tay is an incredible actor, and he really set the scene and starts reading my Taroka deck. For those of you who don't know, it's basically like a tarot deck in this world called Barovia. He starts reading and tells me these things, and out of nowhere, like it almost felt like Tay had memorized this speech. He delivered it without any hesitation, without any ums, any ahs. It just kind of out of his mouth, telling Phalema that somewhere in this world she has a sibling. She has a sibling that is waiting for her and is about to enter a dangerous world, but is ready to meet. I was like, what the living fuck are you talking about? Because he had no idea. It was truly creepy ESP vibe. And then, I was like, wow, this guy's really good. This guy's. But it also kind of like opened up the idea of these beautiful experiences that people can have as game masters, and that kind of amazing, even on Zoom, like this amazing connection you can have with a perfect stranger in 5 minutes that you start playing. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is that I recently spent a long time editing an actual play that we did using the Daggerheart. No, sorry. Yes, Daggerheart system. Yep.
With Seth.
And Seth played a character called Dimple. And I have to say that one of the reasons it took me so damn long to edit that is that you as Dimple, just like you know, I've loved all your characters, but Dimple, just, you found this other part of Seth in Dimple. And the things that you said were so hilarious and real. Yeah, I laughed and laughed and laughed, sitting in this chair, just laughing and laughing. Yeah, those are two great moments.
That's an incredible compliment. And genuinely, Dimple is on another level for me as well. Like there was something.
Yeah, you can tell.
As soon as she like popped in my head, like I knew her voice. I was like, it was like weird how different an experience in like character creation. Like, I just love her so much. I love her.
Me too.
I loved each of your characters. I say loved like it's past tense. They're coming back. But I loved all of your characters from that, and love how much everybody, like watching people watch y'all and love on you for your lovability because yours too, Matt, as Wynn, this just delightful furball, our hesitant leader who was unanimously voted and then Evan and Fitz also just brought the heat with their characters. And it was just so delicious and special to watch you guys all. I was jealous that I wasn't in the party with you. But there were times where like I would just get like very distracted, just like
it's great. So we'll put it in the notes. We'll put where you can watch.
I was about to say, do this. Shameless self-promotion. If you are listening to this podcast and you wonder what these games are that we ramble on and on and on about, here's your chance to watch some of it in action with our very special guest.
Yeah, we now have proof.
Well, on our YouTube channel. So if you're
watch me have some of the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. I mean,
truly the first thing when this D100 popped up, I was like, I mean, Dimple's like my favorite memory, but it's such a broad. It's not like a specific memory. It's just like that character and that campaign and those relationships.
And it's just like if people ever want to know why any of us love doing this, it's because just like all of these fun like synchronicities and silliness, and it's just so.
I was literally just about to say that, Allison. I was about to say, if anybody ever wonders why we're this passionate about but all of it. Those are some really good examples. Yeah. I definitely want to hear about your diagnosis, but I do have a quick segue into your past history. Are you a theater kid? Are you like a theater kid nerd? Like Allison and me?
The answer, the short answer is no.
Okay, but that's a great answer. I mean, good for you.
There's a short story as to why. Because the first play I was in 5th grade was
Please
Cinderella.
Tell us your trauma, okay?
You're in a safe space.
Can we get you a warm drink?
It's more. Actually, I have one right here. Let me just.
Okay. Yeah. It's like a hug for your soul.
You can cut that out.
Nope.
Probably gross some people out there. So the play was Cinderella. It was 5th grade. I was going to drop my teacher's name, but I don't remember it.
It's fine.
And I was Rover, the dog, who's not actually. This was adapted for the play. Yeah. Yes. And I played a dog the whole time. And then, as things come to life, I got a voice as well. And I had a single line in this play.
Buddies.
It was a 2-night show. The first night I went up, I was having a great time. I had my line. I was, on all fours crawling around. I sit up onto my knees. The lights are on me. And it's all just white.
Yeah.
And all I can picture is the teacher, the director's just down there like saying my line to me. And I don't know how long I was just like blanked, just pure blank, just sitting up there. And then I think she said it like louder. And then I eventually delivered the line, and then I had to go and do it again the next night. And I was so mortified
the second night.
and embarrassed. that
I've done that exact same thing with one line. So you're not alone in that. And then I've done it many other times. But yeah, that will most definitely cure you of theater. That pain, that severe pain. I couldn't because my mom is an actor. So she would never have let us, either of us, not act again. But man, I wanted to after that fail. That hurts.
I had the opposite experience. My parents kept telling me not to do it. Yeah.
I was saying everybody's lines.
Yeah. I did a whole script.
You were the kid that was like, say lines. Yeah. Their words.
You know for a fact I was. Yes. Having been fed lines by me yourself, you know for a fact that I had everybody's lines.
It's like, I wish I had you there, AK.
But my parents told me not to do theater, which is the only reason I wanted to do it.
Good. Yeah. Good for you.
Fair enough.
Good for you. Well, I ask because I am constantly stunned at how great of actors you, Fitz, even Evan, who has definitely done theater and stuff, but who never cared for it that much. Yeah. The ability that y'all have to embody characters and to speak as them is like...
I mean, good.
I want to say that too, because I think a lot of people who want to play this game but are afraid to because they're not theater kids or they're not that they really shouldn't be afraid. Number one, if you're amongst friends, don't worry about it. Number two, you may just be possessed by a small goblin named Dimple. You won't even know it. She'll just
appear.
Just consume your soul.
Yeah. It does help that I've been just doing voices and acting a fool for my whole life.
We are all good at acting a fool for sure.
Yeah. I will say though that if you are curious, if you're out there listening and there is a bit of curiosity there, get after it, because I didn't start playing till I was 25 and I'm always like, why? I think AK, I think you've said something similar.
38.
It's like, I wish I had started sooner.
I even started and then took a break. Why did I take a break?
Why did I take a break? And not only that, like I not only did I not start until I was 38, I made fun of it.
You did.
What the hell? Come on, man.
You were too cool for school, man.
Yeah, that's something I've always been, too cool. No. Let's not get it messed up here. Don't get it twisted. But yeah. Well, I don't think I knew the answer to that question either, Matt. So thank you for asking it. And I think I made assumptions about Seth and theatrical background because the voices, getting to see all of these just fantastic characters that you've brought between DC-20 and Daggerheart, but then as well as joining our patron one shots, and just you're always just
so fun.
A little unhinged in the best of ways. I mean, that is high praise and compliments.
Yeah, it really is the highest of praises.
It truly means so much. And the first like shithead character I played as a player was in that one shot with you, AK. And so when you were like, "Oh my gosh,"
confused because I'd met you a few times. I was like, "He's the sweetest guy," and then you just roll up with this jerk and embodied it, and you just were so. And I know you and
I think his name was Marthew.
Marthew, why Marthew, Chad? Like, you're taking back the bro names.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
that one. Sorry.
I think that was the first time that I met Colby. Yeah. So Colby and Seth have a podcast that will be out soon called One-on-One Shots. Yes. I'm not trying to steal all of your thunder. Where you guys alternate being the DM and you record for an hour and just like tell as much of the story in that hour as you can.
Yep.
And it's only an hour. I didn't know I knew it was one-on-one and then one shots, but 1 hour
one-on-one. Yeah, one-on-one D&D one shots in about 1 hour.
And the DM like sets up the character sheet for the player.
Yeah. So DM just plans one shot, sets up the character so that they can kind of control that story piece of it. Our 5th episode featured our first guest, the lovely Allison Kendrick, which was so much fun.
So much fun. So, and the reason I'm bringing this up again, this is we're helping the people who are curious about this relax into it, to like show you just how easy and dumb this is. So, Seth DMs. Colby and I are the players. And so Seth's like, all right, one of you is going to be a rogue and one of you is going to be a sorcerer. And I'm like, you all think I'm going to pick sorcerer, so I'm going to pick rogue. And then, Seth's like, feel free to like come up with how you two know each other. And I was like, I think we're cousins. You just say like the first thing that came to mind. So like the word cousin came to mind. So I said that. And then when we get together, as we're like setting everything up and getting ready to record, we just decide that we were going to be like bickering cousins, because that's always like a fun dynamic. And we decided that the thing we were bickering about is we were both trying to earn the favor of our family matriarch by like getting this like item. Right. And so it was like whoever gets it kind of is like the next in line for the family business. And then we're like, what's our last name? And we had been drinking mimosas at 7:00 at night prior to recording this. So
we were celebrating 1,000 subscribers.
We were celebrating 1,000 subscribers on.
That was a good day.
Yeah. So I brought over some Prosecco to toast with my friends. And
I brought the orange juice.
I see the orange juice bottle on the counter. And so it sounds like, what's your last name? And I go, Juiston. Friends, that's how you play D&D. You just like whatever catches your gaze, or like you don't think about it. You don't argue with yourself and say like, no, cousins is a bad idea. Like you just, whatever the first word that pops into your head,
boom.
Yeah, that's the thing that comes out of your mouth, and that's how you play TTRPGs.
And hey,
the end.
If as you move along, that doesn't feel right anymore, change it up.
You can get a name change. You can get a name change right there. Because everyone's supposed to say, yes, you did get that name change. Yeah. And a criminal underworld is now after you because of that name.
You had to go into the you're in some kind of identity crisis for whatever reason, or you need to hide your identity. Yeah. And we're just going to make it up as we go.
You've embezzled too much.
And then the funny parts just go straight down the toilet.
Yeah.
And it's serious.
The only time, can I tell this story? Can I tell this story real quick, Matt? While we're like here on memory lane, the only time that my party has ever knowed me was Castle Birthday 1. Where I was trying to argue. We had disguised ourselves as a party to get past these guards. And I was middling charismatic sea elf who had cast disguise self, so I looked like one of the guards that we had like kidnapped and done away with. And I'm trying to talk to the NPC piloted by Matt, and he's like, but why don't you sound like yourself? Like, you sound different, because disguise self only works on your face. You still got to like pass that like persuasion or deception check, right?
Yep. Performance, something. You got to do some sort of.
So I said the first thing that came to my mind, and it did not go over well, as you can tell by Matt's reaction here. I said, well, I fell and bumped my head. What? I mean, I thought it was a perfectly logical excuse for why I sounded different. I bumped my head. My accent just fell right out of my mouth.
We did not say no to you, to be clear. The NPC simply said, no, I don't believe that. I don't think you are who you say you are.
So no. Vincent and I were like just losing it, crying.
Oh my God, we were sobbing. We were sobbing.
I mean, in 4 years of doing this basically nonstop, amazing. The point I'm trying to make is that there's only been one time where like the first thing out of my mouth maybe wasn't the best thing to do or say. Every other time, it's been great, kiddies. Get in here and play with us.
That's amazing.
It's
life-changing.
These games.
I know, seriously.
Yeah. Let's just spend this whole episode answering the ADHD 100 table and talk about nothing else.
Nothing else but our beautiful memories.
Let's do it, except I am very curious because
we do want to talk about this.
you said that you were willing to talk about this. I know that, there are so many people that do listen to this that they hear us talking about our day-to-day lives and our life experiences, and they start thinking, oh man, us included. Like I hear myself say these things and then I go, what?
Wow.
Yeah. I've just, and then I go check with the coach, and usually she's like, yep. That's a trait. That's a thing. So I am kind of curious about the journey. And then we can figure out why you think that ties back into D&D and TTRPGs.
Sure.
And I will say this, for whatever extent you're comfortable sharing here, Seth, we're all friends here. By and large, the number one question that we get asked anytime we put out a call for questions is, what is the diagnosis process like?
Yeah,
how do I know when I need to get diagnosed? What do I do if I'm thinking about it?
Yep.
And especially because Matt and I were both diagnosed as adults, so it looks a little bit different than a child's diagnosis. So any demystifying,
and that was a long time ago. Still, I mean, adult, yes, but still, I think my therapist was like, "Yeah, I think you may have ADHD." See ya. I mean, there was really not much to it, but I think there's a whole thing now, right?
Yeah. I do. So, I mean, I don't know how unique my experience was, but I'll share kind of the leading up, but also with the preface of there is more that I would like to kind of follow up with.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, right here in front of me. I feel like I'm giving a presentation now.
Where's the PowerPoint? Do we need to share some slides?
Let me pull my slides up.
If you're listening to this on Spotify right now, get on our YouTube channel.
Let me just pull up my presentation.
We're just kidding, by the way. If you're listening, we're not actually sharing anything.
I mean, first and foremost, the most incredible influence was this very podcast.
We did something right.
By far.
We did something, period.
Period.
Yeah. So honestly, it started here with you two, with this podcast. I started listening because I loved D&D, and I was curious, and in listening to you two talk, so many of your experiences and so many things kept coming up that I was like, I can relate to that. Okay. Interesting. And I guess for a while in kind of, there was a lot, sort of, not a lot, but there were other pieces in my world kind of sort of closing in on similar experiences. And my sister-in-law, Hannah, was diagnosed with ADHD growing up, and we have a lot in common. But sure. I was always very good at school,
right?
And so that was always like the indicator or kind of that determining. It was never questioned. Right. Like I did fine. I got great grades. I did, looking back at it, every single project I did the night before until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I pulled it off, and I got really good at successfully procrastinating. And so that, I think because of that, it was never like a question really, because, but then listening to y'all's experiences, the two big ones that kind of hit me, and I don't remember the order of the episodes or kind of what was first, but the time blindness. That one has become more and more extremely apparent
it's painful,
as time has gone on. And then talking about object permanence, when y'all are talking about, the things just becoming part of your surroundings and literally a sticky note. I see a sticky note. I still use them. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I see sticky notes for about 10 minutes. I've
They're
literally
just part of the wall.
put them on the center of my work screen when I've left for lunch to come back to do something.
And then you just get back and you're like, boom, there's something in my way.
Oh no. It took me, sometimes it takes me an hour to move the sticky note. I'm literally just working around it.
Wow.
Like I'm literally moving my Photoshop window.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh shit, this is in the way. Let me move that. Like,
Amazing.
like I was that thing when y'all were talking about object permanence, I was like, oh wow, okay. Which I think part of that is, I think Matt, you were talking about having weird, just minor injuries, kind of all the time on your hands and stuff. I'm like,
there are two today that I got simply because
his mind and his body get to a point in space at different times.
Yeah,
100%. It's brutal. It's painful. Actually, it's painful sometimes.
It is. I literally, like, the next day, I won't even notice something until like the next day, and I'm like, when did that happen?
Yeah. Now, does your wife also ask you, like, what happened to you?
Oh, yeah.
That's Lizzie's favorite thing. She's just like, okay, what happened there?
I don't know, or tripping over things or bumping into stuff that weren't there previously. I mean, all of that was just.
But your point that you're making, that a lot of people also make, is that you can explain, quote unquote, explain away a lot of these things. Even with a sister that has ADHD, you can say, oh, I'm just clumsy. You're probably not clumsy, right? Like you probably aren't. You might just have this issue where you're this disconnect. And grades, I didn't end up doing great, but you did, right? AK. Oh
God, no.
Okay. You did terribly.
Yeah.
My mom thought I did well enough, right? Like we've told this before, but yes, that was absolutely an indicator. Like, you're doing fine. What?
Well, and that's the thing that always comes to my mind, not to make it a boy thing, girl thing, because either way, like, we all suffered because we weren't diagnosed for all the wrong reasons. But like, I was in school presenting every single attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I could not sit still. Teachers had to put me in the hall, like, for quiet time because I wouldn't stop running my mouth. I wouldn't stop moving. I'm always in motion. Like, I got terrible grades. I was perfectly smart, did well in all the standardized tests, but like, just could not be bothered to, like, be an active part of class and do things like my homework. Every single, counselors and teachers called home and they were like, your daughter has ADHD. Wow. Help her. Yeah. So it was a very different world in the 90s.
Your mom said, no daughter of mine is going to
take
do any theater. She's not going to do any theater productions, and she's not going to have ADHD.
Did I tell you about the time when I was a little kid that my parents told me I could watch VH1 but not MTV because the men wore makeup and they were afraid it would scare me? I'm like, joke's on you. Look who I'm hanging out with now. Everybody looks better in guyliner, Mom.
That's amazing. Another thing that I learned through this kind of past year and a half, 2 years, one of the things that I run into a lot is kind of impossible tasks. And I know, it has been talked about a lot here on Discord, is like making appointments with doctors and all of that. So that was a big hurdle for me, at probably around 6 months to a year of listening to, like, towards the back end of season 1 of ADHD20, I was like, okay, I might really, like, I feel like this is definitely a thing. I think I need to accept this, or not accept this. I think I need to actually consider that I may have ADHD, or some sort of neurospice. And, I wasn't officially diagnosed until like a month or two ago. So that tells you how long that took.
Of course.
But my friend who was diagnosed, told us in December of last year. And I was like, this is my chance. Where were you diagnosed? Tell me how you were diagnosed, send me this information.
Yeah.
Because I want to do that. So she did. And then I actually meant to look up when exactly I was officially diagnosed, and I forgot to. But it was like 2 months ago.
For the course.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 months ago.
I think we celebrated it in Discord, didn't we?
I think we tried to celebrate it in Discord.
Yeah, definitely popped up there.
But that's interesting. That is really interesting to me because there are other people in our beautiful, beautiful Discord, and we have a channel just for ADHD. We talk about it, and we there are some that I think there are some people that have had similar realizations or talk about it, and I don't think that they're interested in any way to be diagnosed. I've talked to people who I'm not allowed to diagnose anyone, but now all I can do is just code everybody that I see and like, I know why I know why they're doing that. Yeah, I know why she's doing, but we never want anyone to get a diagnosis for something that they don't, that will cause them stress or sadness or anything like that. And this is what they call an invisible disability. So it could be invisible to the world and it can be invisible to yourself if you want it to be. It really doesn't. It does not. There's no rules. There's nothing unless you're like in
disguise self.
Yeah. Disguise self.
Well, and that's for me. I was like
neurotypical.
Yeah, I was like, I need to know.
Yeah. So you just said, your
I was
friend.
Like, I really want to know.
You wanted to know.
For me, I was like, I need to know if this is like, I need to have a yes or no kind of thing.
Wow. Interesting.
And I actually wanted. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was why I got the diagnosis too. It was just the validation of being like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Something about making it official. I was just like, I feel like I can.
Sometimes you need a label.
Maybe it's a bit of imposter syndrome or something. I was like, I don't know if I can really talk about this as if I, live it without having a diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was some of that, but I also like numbers and stuff. And so like my hope was getting diagnosed to see like, I'm this percent inattentive, this percent hyperactive, all of that. That was not my experience, though.
Yeah.
I don't have that either, personally. Go ahead.
We got it through when we had our friend and yours, Sarah Mobley, and she put us through the test. And that was really cool to actually see some of the ways that our brains work, like plotted out on a graph. So we could be like, and that was validation of like, oh, that's why I do that. My brain is like shutting down in the moment of trying to solve a logic-based puzzle. Cool. Maybe I need to be aware of that when I, put myself in a various situations.
Yeah,
so
that's fascinating. Like I love numbers and stuff, and I want to see stats.
Interesting. So that is okay, but that is interesting. You were not a theater kid, but you have it sounds like you have a healthy relationship with numbers. And that is something I have never had. It is a fearful thing for me. I'm sure I could change it. But even as a musician, I have always just, as a developer, as a programmer, I've always been afraid of maths. And I wonder if that is part of the reason that it took you so long and made some of these connections and also possibly helped you do so well in school. Because I could easily chart, English, which I know that you're also great at. You're also great at English and those things. You write good
sometimes,
but you have that other. So I would have all A's in English and those things, and then when it came to math, that's what crushed my entire scholastic career. So I wonder if that's different.
Yeah, because math was like my favorite subject. Oh, I loved math. I don't know. It was my jam.
Wow. What does that give you a confidence, I wonder? Because math is so, at least in my brain, it's so mystical.
Yeah. I wonder. And that's kind of what I was.
2 + 2 is 4. Square root of pi. Okay, I'll stop.
And that's what you were saying, AK, about masking in school. And that's what I don't know. Like, is that what, why neurodivergent people can be good in school? Is that masking? But masking was one that I've been thinking about more recently. Like, I was like, I think I might mask some. It sounds like I've been doing it for a while.
That was one of the episodes of this podcast that really truly melted my brain to mush and realizing and okay, so we're laughing, we're having a good time, we're hearing about your diagnosis. I don't want to in any way ignore the elements of this that are, that make ADHD a clinical disability, right? I do not want to downplay those, because I myself run up against those many times. I've seen it in my life, especially now. That's why we went on this journey, is so we could talk about it and learn about it. But for sure, I could almost pinpoint most of my real bad, quote unquote, bad problems with ADHD kind of stem from masking and the masking that I've done in my life to try to fit in and try to, do things that the way that everybody else is doing them, even though it's painful. Horrible.
Self-harm for the comfort of others will just never get you where you really need to be, but we've all done it and continue to do it.
But we're not asking you to go down a dark path. We're just saying.
Well, masking is one I need to sit on more, because I mean, fascinating to hear about. My brain couldn't fully process it, because I was I don't know if that's something I do, or like what my experience with that is and so it's something that I think is slowly sort of revealing itself to me, and I'm gaining more understanding and maybe seeing more of, my own uses of it. So
you get your friend gives you a doctor's name. You go in, you fight yourself, and you finally pick up the phone, and you months and months later, absolutely no shame. You get an appointment, and you go. What is that like in 2024?
So in 2024, it's different from what you just described, because I got the doctor's name and I looked them up, and Evan actually. A few weeks later, I had lunch with Evan, your brother, Evan Bivens.
Heard of him. Yeah.
Heard of him, right? Anyways, he was telling me of somewhere else that, could potentially do a diagnosis. I looked both of them up online. That one had a more difficult barrier to entry. So my brain was just like, nope. The one my friend suggested, I literally just scheduled an appointment online. It was a virtual appointment.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Medical facilities that spend money on your online thing. You have no idea how how you're indirectly promoting mental health by and giving us that. Yeah, Jesus.
Honestly, I don't know if I hope that I would have been diagnosed by now without that, but who knows?
No, seriously. Yeah, I'm with you.
Because it was easier. It was an easier sort of task to overcome. I had the appointment, talked we were on for 45 minutes or so.
Okay.
Kind of sharing my experience. Obviously, this podcast gave me a lot of
buzzwords
and a lot of all of those things that I was like, oh shit, that's me. I wrote them all down, so I could be like, okay, this and this and this and this. And
doctors love that, by the way, when you're like, well, my friend says that.
Yes. The interesting thing of my diagnosis is that she never actually said, you have ADHD, which is still
really?
She never said those words.
Just give me my validation, damn it!
I had to so essentially after this conversation, she kind of was like, okay, well, these are the options, moving forward. If you want medication, this is what you can do. Adderall, kind of talking about the various options to move forward. And I was like, okay, well, does that mean that you can't prescribe it without a diagnosis, right? So, I guess that means I've been diagnosed, but I was like, can you send me
said it.
like a document or something, just in case I don't know. So that was kind of the extent of my experience. And I really want to do something more to see the numbers, because there are tests and stuff you can do, right? Yeah. That give you more information.
Yeah.
Or at least give you an idea, I think. I don't know. That was the weird piece of my experience.
The funny part of all of it, though, is that it by the time you're an adult, it does almost become a trust system. So I was diagnosed through my primary care back when I was 33, 34, have a different PCP now. And when I decided to pursue medication, it was 8 years apart.
Yeah.
All I did was tell my doctor.
Oh, really?
I'm sure she could have gone into my medical files and validated it, but I was I was diagnosed back in whatever year it was. I, at the time, didn't feel the need to pursue medication. I'm now wondering, what would that be like? And she immediately started prescribing me something. And I was like,
whoa.
So all I had to do was just say I was diagnosed. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's... I have many. We've never really had a whole episode about drugs, have we? Mm-mm. Maybe we should do that sometime, because I have a lot to say about it. Both great and not as great. But
I'd be curious to hear that, because I haven't pursued medication to this point, because I'm just let me learn more about it first.
Let me learn more. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I pursued it for 9 months, doing 3 different medications, 3 months each, and I am unmedicated now, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. And that's
not
kind
for
of
everyone.
I was worried about having that experience. Yep. And already dealing with other stuff that I don't want to pile on.
Because it is a thing, and I love medicine, and I am a major proponent of it.
Same,
but it is a dance that never ends. It is a dance that never ends, and you're always tweaking, and it depends on so many different things. And I have to fight to get the tiniest amounts. Every single new doctor, everyone. Yeah. It's just so. Yes, we'll do a whole episode of that someday. I have lots to say.
So very different experience from AK. Just being
and mine was the side effects did not weigh out for me. I was experiencing more side effects and not benefits. Enough benefits for my focus is so much better. Any of that stuff. And I was I'm not going to deal with insomnia. So I can maybe focus better. That didn't feel good. When I say everybody is different, I mean physically all of our bodies,
everybody
are different. And so one of the medications that I tried that I really wanted to work, and I gave the biggest college try, was Strattera. I really thought that was going to be the game changer for me. And we did not get along. Those were some long, hard months. Wow. One of my friends recently diagnosed as an adult as well, thriving on Strattera. And I didn't, when she first told me what she was going on, I purposefully tried not to do a reaction, because there's nothing like you're on a new medication. Somebody's like, ooh, that made me gain 30 pounds and have heart palpitations. You don't want to hear that in that moment. So I just kept my mouth shut, and, then later was yes, that one didn't work for me, but I love that you're thriving on it. So,
but this is confirmed by my coach. It is so, I think I've said this before, but the one thing where we are in science today, especially neurodivergent science, that's not a word. You know what I'm saying? The study of neurodivergent brains, is just we're children, we're babies. We have no idea. We do not have the ability to map the brain. So anything that we are even trying to use, any medicine that exists, any kind of help, is just sledgehammer trying to hit needles, just the smallest needles. And so, absolutely. You could You could go to a doctor, get slightly overdosed for comfort, never touch it again. It may not even work for you. Your own sibling could take a drug that works amazingly for them and not work at all for you. Apparently it's just, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a constant
crapshoot
dance.
Dance. It is, which is honestly probably why we've shied away from doing it.
Yeah.
Because I never want somebody to hear Matt or I say, well, like, oh, Wellbutrin didn't work for me, and demonize Wellbutrin, or think because I have, like, the people who are on medication and that medications are working for, I'm honestly jealous of. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. Like, I wish.
I love it. I feel that it is a tool that I use that helps me be, I think, the best me. Yeah. Because there's a lot of factors, but the masking part of me just means that I'm going to beat myself up all the time if I don't do what I'm supposed to do. So it helps with that a lot. But for all the reasons that y'all just said, I've got to go through all of them, and it is real. It's a struggle. It's never ending. I get it. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, I will say, just to circle back to the diagnosis, the process of people who are curious. Obviously, the being able to do it virtually helped a lot. And one thing I wanted to say was I am really bad. I don't know if this is an ADHD thing or if it's just me. I actually wrote down a few not questions, but points here of like, is it ADHD or just me? And I guess this is one of them. Is that like I'm terrible at like follow-up questions or like questions in general. A lot of stuff that I think about, 30 minutes later or I don't want to inconvenience somebody or it's like, I'm like, or I just figure it out myself. Like in this case, I didn't just ask, well, like, do I have ADHD? Like, just tell me yes or no. Yes. I was like, literally in my mind, like, I'm like, that would have been a very simple question to ask. Yeah. But in my mind, I was like, okay, well, she hasn't said it, but she is, pursuing this medication thing. So that, and I'm pretty sure I haven't had that. And like, just going through this internal, like dialogue to answer the question before I ask it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, hopefully that wouldn't be the experience for someone else who is looking for that yes or no. But I think it's definitely easier to approach it now.
For sure.
I mean, I think, like you said, I think it's pretty, what's the word? In its infancy. Understanding because, kind of hearing y'all talk about it and looking it up beforehand, one of the qualifications to be diagnosed is signs of it as a child, even now. Like before some sort of age. And
there's still people who believe that it goes away, that you grow out of it.
Well, yeah. And she was asking me about school and I was like, I did great. I was good in school. Yeah. I procrastinated all the time. She was like, "Did you have?" Man. Yeah. So I think she kind of like knew that had to be like that was like one of the qualifiers. Sure. And she knew like what to ask, because I did have a hard time paying attention in class. I was just really good at like studying or doing that last minute project or whatever else. Yeah. But I mean, the procrastination, the just distract. I was the like a class clown kind of thing. So
same.
Yeah.
I just need to say that part out loud, huh?
Forever young. That was my. What are those called at the end? Superlatives?
Oh, superlatives. Yeah. I was going through like my box of memories before I moved off to college, and I found mine from preschool where they gave us superlatives. And as a 4-year-old graduating from preschool off to the big wide world of kindergarten, I was given most social, and my preschool teachers wrote, and I quote, "Allison could talk to a wall and sometimes does."
Oh no! Oh, that's incredible.
That's amazing. Do you remember some of the conversations you had with your wall, AK?
I'm sure they were. I was just nonstop.
Yeah.
I say was like I'm not still, just nonstop. I want to talk about, so, you know, we get diagnosed, we feel validation, we think about medication. I'm going to go ahead and segue us into the self-promotional part of this. You are in the process, Seth,
I am.
in part because of this diagnosis, I feel like, of, you know, kind of making your way, making your way onto the internet with all of this. Do you want to kind of like talk about that? Because I think that that's the thread for us between ADHD and TTRPGs, is how like this discovery, both that you've been on for a couple of years by way of listening to this podcast, but then getting the diagnosis and what's come next in your piles of notes.
Yes.
What is next for Seth the GM?
I'm so glad you asked.
3 years in, it's almost like I'm a professional at this by now. I'm going to keep working until I can take that almost right out of that sentence.
Yeah, I have shared some of this with you that over the years, because I've always been a creative-minded person, and you know, did art and you know, silly voices. My brothers and I would make home videos at you know, and stuff. Random Productions. Random Productions presents.
Nice.
It was so much fun and absolutely absurd. But through all that, you know, and exploring my nerdy side of things, I fell in love with comics. I thought I wanted to be a comic book artist. That's insanely difficult. You
and Evan can start a podcast about that.
Yes. Yeah. We've had some conversations.
Not comic book artists, a podcast with Seth McKay.
We'll interview comic book artists about how all the challenges that they deal with, and the lives they live. So there was that. There's, you know, I love cooking. I'm like, oh, maybe I want to be a chef, or I love voiceover, or I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Maybe I want to do voices or record audiobooks, or there's all these things that I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. And for years,
we don't know what that's like.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. I know you don't. I know you can't relate, which is why I appreciate the question, so that I can. No, so for years, you know, I'm kind of like, oh man, all of these creative outlets that I want to explore and things I love to do, and you know, things that I want to continue to do and get better at, have always fluctuated. The focus is never there, which I always thought was a problem and was really discouraging, right? Because I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to focus on for the rest of my life. And then, you know, 6 months later, it was like, oh, this is the thing. And then this is sorry. Just so many things. So anyways, to get to the point, in sort of recognizing ADHD and in myself and in the world around me, something I had years ago kind of thought of was like this, like, I'm pretty handy. Like, you know, oh, I could almost like TaskRabbit. Yeah, TaskRabbit thing. I was like, oh, I could do like, oh, I can watch a YouTube video and fix our water heater, or you know, replace the insides of the toilet, or you know, do all these different things, make bread, right? Jump into the same time. At the same time,
I'm on the toilet and I'm sticking my fingers in the focaccia.
Yes. Massage that focaccia. Focaccia body.
Did you just make focaccia dirty?
Yes. I didn't mean to.
Like the sewage dirty, not even.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. gross, man. Focaccia's great though.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
So you can do all of these things. You can.
Anyways, so years ago I was like,
extremely well.
What if I could do that, and then under some sort of umbrella, and that got forgotten. A nugget of that remained, and the Pocket Dimension. This lovely, beautiful channel of amazing people with just an abundance of creativity inspired me. Oh, that nugget of an idea. I could just do content creation.
Yeah.
This nugget was Seth of all trades was the name that like years ago I had thought of because I was like, oh, I can, do all these things is now something that I realized, oh, I can create this umbrella channel, this sort of ADHD framed channel where I can explore all these things I love. And they have a vehicle in which, I can do that. And at the same time, sort of explore ADHD and, learn more about myself. And so right now it's in the beginning stages. So I have like a little trailer mostly done. I was working on sounds like today, and I'm not perfectly happy with it, but I also know that I need to not be perfectly happy with it, right?
Done is better than perfect.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's a big part. I think I'm in a place where I'm like, I've grown as a person, which is really cool to like be able to see, where I'm, years ago, I would not have been able to release something that wasn't perfect or do it, with the intention that I am, I guess. So starting out, it's just going to be a series. Most of it is going to be following TTRPG related things to start out.
So,
sure. Yes.
If you're watching this and Seth of All Trades is launched, just know there will be a link in the show notes.
The question is whether I feel confident enough launching before I've edited my first batch of videos.
I would. Speaking from experience, you want some in the hopper.
Yes.
Because once it gets going, and you need to have that kind of backlog there. So,
and I got to get.
I think there's probably a line you don't want to. You don't want to take too long, exactly. Like you said, to be too perfect, but also a little.
Take it from your old wise friends. That's us.
So old and so wise.
So wise.
So wise.
I have some questions that I'm curious about that are, involve more of not a story. I guess, actually, they each have a story. So I want to get your thoughts on them down the road.
Okay.
But they are my, is it ADHD or is it just me?
We could do this on ADHd20, or we could do this on Pocket Dimension Live, because one game that Evan has long wanted to play is Does It Taco? And I feel like Is It ADHD is kind of the like YouTuber's answer to Does It Taco? Yeah.
You could do like a shorts segment.
Yeah.
Just do a question or do
a
one segment thing.
So I want to dive in. Is there like one you want to go ahead and let's start it here and now on this episode. Let's like give us an amuse bouche, if you will. Amuse our bouches.
Amuse the bouche.
We look forward to hosting you for further iterations of Is It ADHD? Or is it a taco?
Or is it a taco? Or is it a wall? The segment could be called Ask the Wall.
Ask the Wall.
The wall.
We'll workshop it. Allison, you're You've got the
you're
name.
in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the name guru.
Okay.
You're the title.
I don't know. I'm feeling, is it ADHD or does it taco? It's
one or the other.
strong leader in there.
Or squirrel.
Anyways,
Yeah,
is it an ADHD taco? We'll workshop it. Please continue.
Okay. So this is the preamble to the question.
Yep.
There's a book series by Brandon Sanderson.
Yes.
Which, Matt, I know you've read some Sanderson.
Yes.
But
Which series is this?
This is a character within the Stormlight Archive is like his primary sort of overarching story that's extremely long and very good.
It is.
There's a
I'm
character.
just finishing the first one.
Are you really?
Series.
Oh my
I'm
God.
at 70%. Yes.
We gotta
Yeah,
talk.
I love it.
Okay, so this is spoiler free.
Okay.
There's a character named Taravangian.
Okay.
Who maybe he's not in the first book. I don't remember.
That's okay.
Anyways,
It'll be even more special when I get there.
Yeah. In this book, the character Taravangian makes this deal. There's some sort of magic influencing him where half the time he has this brilliant mind and the other half the time he is like sluggish and slow and can't like think properly. And he has these scribes around him that essentially give him tests every day at the start of every day to see this scale of, which I guess this is why I love this character, because the scale of numbers and stats of like, oh, hey, you're at 78% brilliance or whatever else. So he basically has these days of bright, brilliant days and then days where he's sluggish and, can't really think that quickly and all of that. And so this is something I connected with this character quite a bit because sometimes I can get on something like this or be sitting in conversation and like come out of it and being like, oh, wow, like I felt very well spoken.
I'm pretty suave.
like
Nico Suave over here.
Yeah. And that's 5% of the time. Most of the time, I leave most conversations with my own insecurities about oh man, I like, or I do like we've seen many times today where like I start to say something and then I'm like in my head, like I'm not saying this the best. And then I'm thinking about that and then I can't figure out what I'm saying, right? Like the eloquence is gone. But sometimes there are those moments where I'm just like, damn, I nailed that. Right. And so I'm like, is that just me or is that a neurodivergent thing or?
God, man, because I can't speak to a neurotypical brain.
Yeah, fair.
And whether that's 1,000% me. In every way, I wonder if it is. I wonder if it is a K because I have seen Allison go into a work meeting and just, I'm business Allison. How are you? Just like utter charming, and Evan and I will try to do that, and sometimes we can, and then sometimes we can. Not. It's just like molten lava. Just suddenly,
you're like, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I know, but I can't do it.
My guess would be that is absolutely a neurodivergent thing and brain thing. The one thing that my coach has said about that is that it is probably best for people with ADHD to not. Especially if you have a comorbidity about that involves beating yourself up or depression, like don't just think of a day as the time that you need. Yeah. Like it could very well be that a week is what you need to get. Like if you set out every week, I need to get this done. I need to get this done.
Yep.
But if you don't do it in the first day and you've time blocked your freaking calendar until until you're blue in the face, then you could very, it's all kinds of things could fall apart. Yeah. So I'm assuming that it's related to that, in which I will have a day that I am just rocking so hard, and the next day I may also rock. And then the third day can't do anything. Can't do anything.
But do you
or say anything? Or
do you plug in and rock?
Do I plug in and rock?
Do you remember that episode where you just kept saying, "I'm plugging in and rocking.
I'm plugging in and rocking. I am just plugging in right now and rocking.
I am your amplifier."
Well, no.
Well, I did. Your episode talking to your coach, it made me think like, with the batteries and kind of all these gauges of like, okay, well, I haven't drank enough water, or my social battery's down, or all of these factors. I'm like, well, maybe I should do some testing of like my brain power versus those. Like, if all of that is.
I think that's the part that's the ADHD. If I could just the desiring, both the whoever's brain came up with that, like there's a brainometer that we can plug into and rock, and it will just tell, because that's what we want. We want this baseline that we know we're never going to achieve. We know we're always going to be this. So we just want to know, like, when am I going to be closest, to the epicenter of this?
Yeah.
So somebody, ADHD, came up with that thought, and then our yearning for it, that's the ADHD part.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. But with your love of facts, figures, and statistics, Seth, I would love it if you would use yourself, if you would biohack yourself, and you would use yourself as a guinea pig, and
absolutely.
Because what I can't do is I can't consistently track myself.
That. Yeah.
So if you have the ability to do that, I don't know if you do,
but
if it would be really interesting.
I would
because
love to have that ability, and
I really would.
And
one part of my daily task management system that I am still missing is that check-in and that feedback of, okay,
how did
can I do it? Is it right now?
Yeah.
The flow chart, yes or no. No, then go do this thing, because you're not going to do what you should not force it.
Ooh,
Please don't.
Yeah. I need to. I need to put some brain power to this, because
keep talking about it. Yeah.
All right.
That sounds
amazing. Seth, we are pleased after spending these 2 hours together to tell you that you do have ADHD. And you are.
You have passed.
You are the father.
I am the father
of the ideas that you were hatching. And the Seth of All Trades channel.
Yes. Yeah.
That is so incredibly satisfying to hear. I feel very
as somebody
fulfilled.
who is very, who gets to make those judgment calls on other people's behalf, very qualified.
Thank you.
Very qualified. Yes.
If it is your first time listening to ADHd20, please help yourself to all the prior episodes where we rattle on and on about how unqualified we are, because I'm just kidding today. Just curious.
I'm fully unqualified as well, but
none of us are qualified.
Yeah. You both have ADHD as well.
To live.
I'm qualified to kick ass.
Yeah, you are, and take names. I can take names as you kick ass.
I can do without the names.
Okay, yeah, I can take notes.
Actually, that's not true. Y'all know that I can remember the names because I'm usually the one behind you whispering people's names.
You know your names.
Oh, bless your heart.
I know your lines and I know your names.
Know the lines, the names.
The veils.
Does Seth. The wall have a name?
Yeah, and the walls.
This is gonna haunt me. This is gonna be the clapback that will never go away. How many walls did you talk to today, AK?
It's so much fun, though. It's so much fun, though. Seth McKay, thank you so much for joining us. It really has been an honor and touching, and I really think hearing about the story and your story and the excitement of the future. I just hope that we can always be a part of it if you'll have us.
Of course.
Please.
Excited to collab on some things.
Yes.
But thank you for having me. Crazy thing. It was just a wild moment.
Thanks for having us on.
Me to be on here, and I was like,
your podcast.
Whoa. Cool. Yes, dude. Thanks, ADHD.
It's a golden ticket.
It's a golden ticket to hang out with you.
ADHD20 is a creation from the Pocket Dimension, a multiverse where we explore neurospice,
rolling dice,
and so much more. Come chat with us in our Discord server, open to all. The join link is in our show notes.
Ready to level up your support? Check out the Pocket Dimensions Patreon, where you can get access to bonus content, be the first to hear new episodes, and even play TTRPGs with us and our friends.
The best way you can help us, though, is just to share the gift of ADHD20 with the people that you think will like it.
We love that you're here. Thank you for entering the Pocket Dimension.